This is episode 106 of the After Gambling Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to give you my strategy that I would give myself or my best friends or pretty much anybody if they were trying to quit something or make a big behavior change in their life. Oh yeah, and this will work for gambling too. Hey there, and welcome back to the After Gambling Podcast. My name is Jamie. You know me. I am a former gambler, marketer, curious, extraordinaire person. Not extraordinary. I'm not extraordinary. I'm just extraordinaire. So I'm an endlessly curious person that examines my life, other people's lives, and does this little podcast to share what I think, what I find, my thoughts and views. And you're here, so apparently you find some value in it. So I appreciate you being here. So today, as I said in the intro, we're going to talk about behavior change and really the things that I've picked up from reading books or podcasts or talking to other people, examining my own life over the last probably 15 years now, whatever it is. Yeah, the numbers keep adding up. So this is my strategy, and I will actually be doing this and kind of going in, and I'll come back in about 3 weeks to give an update and see where we are on it and how it's working for me. But yeah, ultimately, I think this is a strategy that will work for just about anything. It's the one that whenever I'm doing things well, gambling, weight loss, work, parenting, you name it, when you follow this one, it's really hard to go offline. So you ready? Here we go. So step number one is you're going to go and find a couple of online communities or groups or people that are talking about insert here. And your insert here, if it's gambling, you can listen to the podcast. I can give you a list of other ones. You can go to the website and find there are a list of a lot of other podcasts. So that's going to be one of the things. You're going to find some resources, things that you can listen to, whether it's podcasts, videos, content on the internet, right? This is at our hands. Doesn't matter what you're interested in, what you're trying to do. It will all be there, and you will be able to find some content that you can dive into anytime you want. And that's the key. Having that access 24/7, 365 is going to be the key. So find one of those things. Like I said, if it's this podcast, go back and listen to these episodes. And if you get bored of listening to my voice, and I encourage you to go listen to some of the other ones, and just have some resource of people that are on the same path is essentially what you're looking for. So if you're not looking at this from gambling, you're just trying to get in better shape, go find some people that have gone through what you've done or gotten to the place where you want to be and start listening to their content, following them on TikTok, social media, whatever that is. But you have to have those few resources out there. So go find a few. So that's going to be the first thing. Second thing you're going to want to do is you're not only going to want to find those people that are having the resources, but you're going to want to have some kind of group. And we're going to start off with an online group. I'm going to suggest you go to Reddit first and find some kind of online group where you're going to have a mix of people. Some people that are finding success with it, some people that aren't. You're going to have a lot more people that are kind of in the trenches, I'll say, like kind of like it's more like those. Now you're actually finding the people that are trying to execute the plan. The first stage, you're finding other people that have thoughts and views and guidance on it through podcasts or other online content. The next one, you're looking for other people that are right there. And that's going to give you some encouragement or guidance. Sometimes seeing what's not working for other people is just as good. But a lot of times you're going to find people that are there sharing their successes, the things that are working for them, and they're checking in. They kind of have this online check-in. So if you go to the Problem Gambling Reddit, you can find it there. If you're trying to get in shape, you can go look at some of like the ones that are on low carb or keto or exercise, any of those, because you're going to have people that are posting their strategies, their plans, and just checking in. And so I would encourage you to find that. That's the second thing. And with this, I would say post on there. Just put out there, hey, I'm new to this group, look forward to following, or share some of your thoughts. But definitely, at least at a very bare minimum, have that group. All right. So step one, we're going to go find some people online, some people that are content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call it these days. Step two, you're going to go find that group. Probably like going to be a Reddit thing. It's just Reddit has like everything. So that's an easy one for me to advise. But if you know of another one, you can go find that as well. So you're going to have some place where you can go in and just the ideal thing, like the reason I like Reddit, there's just so many people there. There's like millions of people around the world. So you're going to see new content, fresh stuff that's going to stimulate kind of your mind throughout the day, and be able to check in on those. So you're going to have that. A couple of things, a couple of resources. Next up, you're going to find some kind of group. And this one, again, if you want to use the Reddit and you want to stay in that area, you got to post though. And you got to come up and commit yourself to posting on there and sharing some of your thoughts. Otherwise, the other area I would go is you go find an online group, some kind of, this is where you get into more of the support group. Last one I talked about, gamblersinrecovery.com. You can find a local GA group if you're doing gambling. If you're doing weight loss, I'm sure the same things exist. If you're trying to become better at business, this is where you would want to find some kind of like mastermind group. Avoid paying for it. Just maybe try and find some places where you have, I'm sure there's groups out there where you can stop in and it's just kind of a bunch of business owners that are sharing best practices or kind of on a growth trajectory and they're trying to optimize certain parts of their business. Try and find some kind of group. And it's interesting. What comes to my mind is thinking of Mr. Beast. I'm sure most people know who Mr. Beast is, but the biggest YouTuber. And he always talked about, like, he was just putting out a ton of terrible videos, but he had this group of kind of people that they were sharing, okay, like what works better? Having my image, my face looking this way or that way, having a title or not, changing the titles. And so he had this small group of people that they were just constantly just talking to each other, trying to come up with best practices. Same thing here. You're going to have some kind of group. Now, this one, whether you check in or not, like I say, with gambling, if you just go on and listen to it, that's fine. But again, having some kind of live group, I think, is a huge part of this. I'm going to call this one optional for some things. If you can't find a group like business owners, I'll call it optional. But I still think if you're really, truly trying to change these things, you need something like that. So find it. We have the internet. There's 8 billion people. I'm sure there's a group that you won't have to pay for that you can join to get in there. So those are 3 of the big resources up front that I'm going to suggest. And again, this is universal. This will work with anything. So now take your device. I would clear out and make a screen, your home, whatever your default home screen is. You're going to put that either in one folder or have those icons right there. Because step 2 is now you need to look at your time using your phone. And I'm just going to say your time using your phone because we all use it plenty of hours. I mean, at the low end, I'm sure people are using it for at least 30 to 60 minutes. And I think a lot of people, like myself even, are much higher than that number. So you're going to put those resources, the links right on the top. And then over these next 3 weeks, and we'll break down, I think 21 days. We're going to start with 21 days. I don't know if I heard that somewhere. I think that might have been part of like change it. One of the behavioral change things that 21 days is a good one. But just in my experience, that just seems like a good one. It's not 30. 30 seems like too big of a commitment, right? But it's not like a week or 2 weeks because then you don't really truly get into it. So we're going to go 21 days on this. And over this course of next 21 days, whenever you go to your phone, that phone time is now going to be time that you're going to jump in to listening to stuff. The content creators. You're going to jump in to going on Reddit and seeing what people are actively posting. Those people that are kind of in the trenches with you. What are they doing there? Or you're going to jump onto a group. And so having those things, and you're literally going to replace all of the time. I mean, if you really want to carve out a small amount of time where you want to go on and social and stay connected to your friends. I'm not saying disconnect from your friends, but we don't need the endless scrolls. And so you have to decide what that looks like for you. Maybe it's just at the end of the day, you have 10 or 15 minutes, a half hour, whatever it is at the end of the day that you allot for yourself for those. But otherwise, anytime you pick up your phone where you would normally be just random scrolling, you're going to be doing one of those 3 things: listening to some kind of influencer, reading through other people sharing their stories, or jumping on a meeting and listening through a meeting. So that is going to just be the big change, is going to be replacing content that is just not really like kind of tailored to exactly what you want to do. So now we're going to get super focused on one set of goals, one outcome that you want to improve upon, one focus. Don't try and do 2 or 3 things at once. Start with just one and focus right there and go with it. So that's going to be the strategy. And over the next 3 weeks, commit to doing it for 3 weeks and see where it gets you. Now, having said that, now I want to put a few different time frames on here where you're going to have to be really, really mindful of falling into bad habits. Again, just my personal experience. So you're going to start getting in the groove. First one is going to be not 24 hours, 24 hours maybe, but I'm going to say 72 hours, about 3 days, 4 days, somewhere in there. Make sure when you hit 3 or 4 days, this is a time where you're going to want to put the pedal down and make sure that you're sticking with it and really kind of going to it. Because my guess is after 3 or 4 days, you're going to either be sick of hearing me, which again, go listen to other podcasts or go find other things, or you're just going to your mind's going to wander back to, well, okay, I'm doing well right now. I've made it 3 days. I'll add a little bit more of Instagram scroll earlier in the day. I'll add a little more of X scroll earlier in the day. Avoid that. 3 to 4 days is one where all of a sudden we get and start to get momentum, which momentum is the absolute thing we're trying to keep here. And all of a sudden you start to give it up. And you don't mean to, but it's just accidental. It feels like, okay, you can afford to do it. But I'm telling you, just keep your blinders on and keep going forward. So we're going to make it through the 3 to 4, and I'll even say it's a 5-day window, right? Because that's the second one is like 5 to 7. And I don't know why. Again, this is just me, marketer observation. I think it's either like you get to a weekend or through a weekend, and weekends are much different, right? We have our work schedule where we go a certain way, and then sort of our life schedule where we go a different way on the weekends. And so making sure that we stay on path through those 7 days is going to get through a full week and a weekend. So that's going to be one next kind of place to focus, whatever that shift is. And that might fall in that 3 to 4 days, but making sure that you stay consistent on the weekend. You're going to have other kind of obligations, or during the work week, you're going to have other obligations depending on when you start, but making sure that you're still just filling all of the available time that was just the scroll time, right? We're just converting scroll time into action time over the course of a small little thing and see what happens. So 3 to 4 days or through a weekend, let's get through a week. Now, the next one to start paying attention to, and once you get through that, I really think, like, personally, I found like all of a sudden now you have 7 days and like you really start to get momentum. And again, at 7, we're just trying to get to 21. So like 7, if you make it through 7, you can definitely get to 21. And then we'll revisit that at 21. But that's my plan. That's my strategy. I'm going to be doing this again with getting back in shape, working out a little bit more, watching what I eat a little bit more. And so that's going to be the one I'm going to be focusing on my 21 days. Here it's actually 3, 2, 1 today. So it sounds like a countdown, 3, 2, 1. But 21 days. So this is kind of a 21-day kickoff. And then we'll talk about next stages after that. But I think that's really the strategy I would give to myself. And obviously I am giving it to myself to see how it works. Because you got to get through those first 3 or 4 days. And you got to get through just kind of those. I think what happens, I always talk about, we're wired to forget. And so whatever it is, we get to these places where we're starting to get a little bit of momentum and we just ease up a little too soon until things really become ingrained as just like a new habit, a new thought pattern. And so I think this will work with anything. I don't know. I'm not official, as you know. I don't have any letters before or after my name, but I've been successful in certain things. And I've also struggled in certain things. And I've observed like what are the differences there? What works? What doesn't work? And this really seems like the strategy that, I don't know. I'm curious to get feedback. So if you want, you can reach out, jamie@aftergambling.com. Let me know what you're working on in your 21 days, or let me know if you see some similarities. And then especially if you get to the 20, when we get to 21, I'll remind you, but we're going to check in and see how everybody's doing and then talk about some next steps. But again, I think sometimes really breaking these things down into simple things and applying them is good. So I don't know what it is you're interested in. I threw out just 4 or 5. I mean, it could just be something that you're listening to this for your friend or family member and you just want to get better at golfing. You want to it's growing into summertime, you want to be better at golfing. Do that same thing. Whatever you want to apply this to. I'm pretty confident this strategy will work for anything. Just start really focusing in, block out all the other stuff, focus on this one thing in using your sort of quote unquote downtime to a specific goal, a specific outcome. And I think it's going to work. So put those things, change up your home screen, get those things so you just know when you open your phone, it's that reminder right there that, okay, I'm not going to Instagram now. This is my time to go on Reddit. This is my time to go on and listen to a podcast. So that's the strategy. Like I say, give it 3 weeks. 3 weeks is not that long. And then we'll check back in and see how things are going. Other than that, appreciate all the messages. It's been nice to hear from people as I got back in the swing of things here with the podcast. And yeah, that's all I got for today. So hope you enjoy your weekend, get kickstarted on whatever you're trying to change. And hopefully the strategy works out well for you, and hopefully it works out well for me. I will let you know in 3 weeks. I'll give you some updates along the way, obviously. But that's all for today. Remember, I am not a doctor or lawyer. None of those things. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a guy that shares some things for informational purposes. It helps my life, makes my life better, as I said in the last one. So that's why I do this podcast. But please seek out professional help for all of those things in your life. And other than that, music for the show is Something Elated by Broke for Free and is licensed under the Creative Commons license. Thanks again for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.